Congresswoman Bachmann, you say you can turn the economy around within 1 quarter by cutting taxes, reducing spending, and repealing the health care law. In fact, this week you said, quote, "It isn't that difficult," and, quote, "solutions aren't that tough to figure out." Isn't it unrealistic to suggest that something as massive and complex as the U.S. economy can rebound in just 3 months?
We can start to see recovery within 3 months, not the whole recovery, but we can begin to see it if we put into place what we know to be true. Number one, we should not have increased the debt ceiling. In the last 2 months, I was leading on the issue of not increasing the debt ceiling. That turned out to be the right answer. And this is part of the movement that we're seeing all across the country. I've been leading that movement. I've been giving it voice. And it's not just Republicans. It's disaffected Democrats, it's independents, it's libertarians, all coming together, apolitical people, because 2 days from now, Brett, we get to send a message to Barack Obama, and the message is this: you are finished in 2012, and you will be a one-term president.
Congresswoman Bachmann, I'm going to ask you in a moment your own question about Governor Pawlenty, but I want to give you an opportunity to respond to his comments. You have 30 seconds. One, that you have no record of accomplishments in Congress, and two, that there's something missing in your resume because you do not have executive experience.
Well, thank you for asking the question. I would say, Governor, when you were governor in Minnesota, you implemented cap and trade in our state, and you praised the unconstitutional individual mandate, and you called for requiring all people in our state to purchase health insurance that government would mandate. Third, you said the era of small government was over. That sounds a lot more like Barack Obama, if you ask me. During my time in the United States Congress, I have fought all of these unconstitutional measures, as well as Barack Obama, and I led against increasing the debt ceiling the last 2 months.
I just wanted to pick up, and in fact you anticipated the question I was going to ask you, and then I'm going to give you a chance to respond, Governor. Congresswoman Bachmann, isn't that about the worst thing you can say about a fellow Republican in this campaign, that he reminds you of Barack Obama?
The policies that the governor advocated for were cap and trade. He praised and wanted to require Minnesotans to purchase the unconstitutional individual mandate in health care, and he said the era of small government is over. I have a very consistent record of fighting very hard against Barack Obama and his unconstitutional measures in Congress. I'm very proud of that record. That is what qualifies me as a fighter and representative of the people to go to Washington, D.C., into the White House. People are looking for a champion. They want someone who's been fighting. When it came to health care, I brought tens of thousands of Americans to Washington to fight the unconstitutional individual mandate. I didn't praise it. When it came to cap and trade, I fought it with everything that was in me, including I introduced the Light Bulb Freedom of Choice Act so people could all purchase the light bulb of their choice. I also believe that big government is hurting the United States. We need to have small government.
And I'm sure you've been waiting for the opportunity. Governor Pawlenty, 30 seconds to respond.
Well, I'm really surprised that Congresswoman Bachmann would say those things. That's not the kinds of things she said when I was governor of the state of Minnesota. And moreover, she's got a record of misstating and making false statements, and that's another example of that list. She says that she's fighting for these things. She fought for less government spending. We got a lot more. She led the effort against Obamacare. We got Obamacare. She led the effort against TARP. We got TARP. She said she's got a titanium spine. It's not her spine we're worried about. It's her record of results. If that's your view of effective leadership with results, please stop, because you're killing us.
Wait. Congresswoman Bachmann, 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you so much. I was at the tip of the spear fighting against the implementation of Obamacare in the United States Congress. Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and Barack Obama ran Congress, but I gave them a run for their money. Again, on cap and trade, I was there from the very beginning giving Speaker Pelosi a run for her money. That's why I was Speaker Pelosi about her #1 target to defeat last year, because I was effectively taking them on nearly every argument they put forward. I fought. When others ran, I fought, and I led against increasing the debt ceiling.
I go to Representative Bachmann. This is a question also about that cigarette tax increase. You were in the Minnesota State Legislature at the time, and you said you opposed the tax, but in the end, you voted for it. Now you promise never to raise taxes. Why would you compromise then, but not now?
That's right. I was very vocal against that tax, and I fought against that tax. The problem is, when the deal was put together, Governor Pawlenty cut a deal with the special interest groups, and he put in the same bill a vote to increase the cigarette tax, as well as a vote that would take away protections from the unborn. And I made a decision. I believe in the sanctity of human life, and I believe you can get money wrong, but you can't get life wrong. And that's why I came down on that decision that I made.
Governor Pawlenty, do you have a response, 30 seconds to that?
Yeah, what's wrong in the answer is the answer. Congresswoman Bachmann didn't vote for that bill because of stripping away a pro-life protection. She voted for it and is now creating that as the excuse. But nonetheless, she speaks of leading these efforts in Washington and Minnesota. Leading and failing is not the objective. Leading and getting results is the objective. I've got the best record of results of any candidate in this race.
All right, thank you. We're going to go to Senator Santorum next.
Okay, yes, you can.
This is exactly what I'm trying to illustrate. We need to have a President of the United States who stands firm on their convictions. This is what I have demonstrated for every day that I have been in Congress. I have a consistent record of standing on my convictions. I didn't cut deals with special interests where you put the pro-life issue together with tax increase issues. That's a fundamental. It's a non-negotiable. And when we come to a non-negotiable, we must stand, and I stand.
Congresswoman Bachmann, you are a big believer in the 10th Amendment and the idea of granting power to the states. So let me ask you, does that make any difference whether mandatory health insurance is being imposed by a state or by the federal government?
No, I don't believe that it does. I think that the government is without authority to compel a citizen to purchase a product or service against their will, because effectively when the federal government does that, what they're doing is they are saying to the individual they are going to set the price of what that product is. If the federal government can force American citizens, or if a state can force their citizens to purchase health insurance, there is nothing that the state cannot do. This is clearly an unconstitutional action, whether it's done at the federal level or whether it's the state level. And I will not rest as the President of the United States until we repeal Obamacare. And as the nominee of the Republican Party, I also will not rest until I can also elect an additional 13 senators who agree with me, so we'll have a filibuster-proof Senate and we can actually repeal Obamacare.
Congresswoman Bachmann, I want to switch to another angle of the war on terror, though if you want to weigh in on Iran, feel free. You say that we don't win the war on terror by closing Guantanamo and reading Miranda rights to terrorists. Congressman Paul says terrorism suspects have committed a crime and are should be given due process in civilian courts. Could you please tell Congressman Paul why he's wrong?
Well, because simply terrorists who commit acts against United States citizens, people who are from foreign countries who do that, do not have any right under our Constitution to Miranda rights. We've also seen that Guantanamo Bay has yielded significant information. In fact, we've learned that that led to the capture and the killing of bin Laden. This is a tool that we need to have in order to be able to prosecute the new type of war, the new type of warfare, and the new type of terrorists that this country is dealing with. Regarding Iran, Iran is the central issue in the Middle East and their capacity to become a nuclear power. They are one of the 4 state sponsors of terror in the world. I sit on the House Select Committee on Intelligence. I can't reveal classified information, but I can say this. As President of the United States, I will do everything to make sure that Iran does not become a nuclear power.
In 2006, when you were running for Congress, you described a moment in your life when your husband said you should study for a degree in tax law. You said you hated the idea. And then you explained, quote, "But the Lord said, be submissive. Wives, you are to be submissive to your husbands. As president, would you be submissive to your husband?
Thank you for that question, Byron.
You're welcome.
Marcus and I will be married for 33 years this September 10th. I'm in love with him. I'm so proud of him. And both he and I, what submission means to us, if that's what your question is, it means respect. I respect my husband. He's a wonderful, godly man and a great father. And he respects me as his wife. That's how we operate our marriage. We respect each other, we love each other, and I've been so grateful that we've been able to build a home together. We have 5 wonderful children and 23 foster children. We built a business together and a life together, and I'm very proud of him.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Quickly.
Thank you. I support the federal marriage amendment because I believe that we will see this issue at the Supreme Court someday. And as president, I will not nominate activist judges who legislate from the bench. I also want to say when I was in Minnesota, I was the chief author of the constitutional amendment to define marriage as one man, one woman. I have an absolutely unblemished record when it comes to this issue of man-woman marriage.
Congresswoman Bachmann, turning to you, you voted against the debt ceiling increase deal, and you voted against the Republicans' cut, cap, and balance bill. You insisted the country was not at risk of default. If you had your way, the debt ceiling would not have been raised. What do you say to analysts who insist that Americans' investments, their 401ks, their college funds, would have been far worse off today?
It was very important that we not raise the debt ceiling because consider what happened. The Congress gave Barack Obama a blank check for $2.4 trillion. What did the American people get in return? $21 billion in illusory cuts. So from the time I've been in Congress, we've gone from $8.67 trillion in debt to now almost double to $16.7. This is madness. I've been all across Iowa. People are almost unanimous. Do not raise the debt ceiling. That was the right thing to do. The worst thing that you can do is continue to borrow money and spend money that we don't have.
So I'm sorry, what do you say to the analysts who say that the markets would have fallen through the basement?
I think the analysts, we just heard from Standard & Poor's. When they dropped our credit rating, what they said is we don't have an ability to repay our debt. That's what the final word was from them. I was proved right in my position. We should not have raised the debt ceiling, and instead we should have cut government spending, which was not done, and then we needed to get our spending priorities in order.
Mr. Kaine, do you agree with that? During the commercial break, realized I needed to give Congresswoman Bachmann 15 seconds to respond since you were mentioned there. Congresswoman?
The thinking that says that we have to continue to raise the debt ceiling and spend money that we don't have is the wrong premise. The American people are asking for a very different, bold vision, and I was the leading voice against raising the debt ceiling. That's what the American people want us to do. Have our balanced budgets and also have our spending priorities in order. That was the right thing to do.
Congresswoman Bachmann.
Well, the good news is 2 days from now, here in Ames, Iowa, all of us have a chance to send a message to Washington, D.C. about what we think about Barack Obama and his presidency. He got started here in Iowa, and now Iowa can bring that presidency effectively to a close. I want to do that as President of the United States, and I'm inviting everyone to come to the straw poll, and let's send a message to Washington that they can't miss.